last year through the Birmingham 2022 funding. And this is a bit about my background. I've always had an interest in archery from a younger age. Unfortunately, at that time, it was not accessible as it is now. Times are now changing. As part of my role is to ensure everyone who wishes to pursue the sport has the opportunity to do so. We are aware of the great benefits that sport brings, and it is a Sunnah sport, which is a spiritual thing for Muslims, and it highly encourages those from a Muslim background to take part. Part of my role as the legacy coordinator is to encourage diversity within the sport and to ensure it is accessible and welcoming to all individuals of all ages, abilities, ethnicity, and backgrounds. My aim is to promote archery to individuals and communities that may not have had access to the sport prior to this, and also to tackle inequalities and barriers that may prevent anyone from taking up our amazing sport. I will now hand over to Gail, who will talk a bit more in detail about the Birmingham 2022 funding that we received. Thanks, Gail.
Thanks, Jamila. If you don't mind passing on to the next slide. I sound like Boris already, which is not good. I don't know if you can remember back to last summer and the Birmingham 2022 Commonwealth Games. Hopefully you got a chance to attend. Around any major event, there's always the need for legacy work to make sure that the local people sort of benefit from that event. So the 2022 Games mission was to bring people together to improve health and well-being, help the region to grow and succeed, be a catalyst for change, and put Birmingham and the West Midlands on the map. So it's a Bromting, but don't worry, I won't start singing. To support the Games mission, Sport England launched a fund. Sorry, Jamila, do you mind going back a slide? I don't think Boris said that before. So Sport England launched a national governing body, Sport Participation, Innovation and Digital Fund. And luckily, Archery GB were invited to apply. You might be thinking, why did Archery get an opportunity to apply when we weren't in the Commonwealth Games? I don't know if you remember when India kind of kicked off because shooting wasn't in the games, they sort of threatened to withdraw from the games. So luckily, they agreed that shooting and archery would take place in India, but unfortunately, due to COVID, that was cancelled. But we were very fortunate to access the fund. So the Sport England Fund also supports their new strategy, which is uniting the movement. So the fund aims to support national governing bodies to create a games legacy through giving lots of opportunities to increase participation in different sports with a focus on underrepresented groups and tackling inequalities, capturing interest generated from the amazing games in Birmingham. And there was also a link to sort of digital innovation. So it was an opportunity to test some digital innovation and then hope that that would be embedded and sort of a legacy of the games as well. So our application form consisted of various different components, which is on the next slide. So it was to sort of do an audit of our current activity and partnership working in the West Midlands. So that would be to look at clubs, anyone who delivers archery, our coaches, our instructor workforce, and also areas that delivered soft archery, so the arrows archery. To expand Project Ramaya across the West Midlands, and maybe as well as looking at the spiritual benefits within the Muslim community to also sort of branch out into other faiths, such as the Sikh community. As we know, there is a spiritual connection in their sort of religion as well. To increase the number of aligned coaches, instructors and volunteers within ethnically diverse communities, to appoint a legacy coordinator, which we're absolutely delighted to have Jamila as that coordinator. So just wanted to say thank you for everything you've done, Jamila. You're too fast on the slide though, so can you go back to the other slide? Thank you. Jamila was busy with a team of volunteers going out and running lots of different festivals to promote and support the games. to revamp Arrow's Archery and Urban Archery. Arrow's Archery is 10 years old now, so it's just an opportunity to revamp and to have a sort of secondary school adult soft archery program as well. As we know that in some cities, facilities are a problem. So by having a sort of soft archery is a really good stepping stone. To roll out our archery activity program, and our digital offer was kind of the club management system, and to sort of promote open data. Increased participation, which links nicely into Start Archery Week, and also to create sustainable archery delivery. So that might be new clubs, new archery activity partners. Aaron, our boss, kind of always uses the analogy, there's a lot of activities going on, we've got lots of programs, so it's about connecting the dots or connecting the goals. I'm now ready for the next slide. So we were sort of last minute, I suppose, to part of this fund. So it's a bit of a rush. I think we found out early in 2022. So we submitted our application on the 25th of February. And luckily we were successful and able to appoint Jamila, who started on the 1st of July. We have to do regular reporting, so on a quarterly basis. The funding is spread across 2 years. We also have to submit participant data and postcodes, which then go through to DCMS as well. And as well as the funding, we also access sort of lots of support, and that's sort of delivered by CAST, which is the Centre for Acceleration and Social Technology. So it's all about working together. How can we learn from other sports? And there's also some support around sort of insight to make sure it's sustainable change. And yeah, that photo was from Wolverhampton. I think that was your first day at working for Archery GB. So I'll hand back to Jamila now.
Thank you. Thanks, Gail, for that lovely insight. Moving on to my achievements over the last 6 months from being appointed as Archery GB Legacy Coordinator. So during this period, I have reached over 1,000 people that were introduced archery or continued from their journey in archery. This was achieved through various projects, such as during the Commonwealth Games, as Gail mentioned. I helped in festivals, events, and worked alongside some fantastic people. I think Mark is here tonight, Mark Braham. But yes, unfortunately, some are not here tonight, but worked alongside some fantastic people. So during this period, I've also formed many partnerships and with several organisations, including Street Games, the Haley, Muslim Sports Foundation, Local Mosque, Muslim Scouts Fellowship, and the Deaf Culture Centre, known as the BID Services. And many more, and I continue to do so. So this includes schools within the West Midlands, community centres, organisations, mosques, madrasas, Royal Air Cadets and Scouts. Part of my regular project that I'm running is, many of you may or may not have heard, it's part of the Bring It On Brum, which is the HAF project, known as the Holidays Activities Food Programme. This programme gives young people who are from underrepresented groups and from low-income families access to physical activities and food during the holiday term throughout the year. Both programmes that I have delivered have been very successful, with over 85% attendance rate and some very positive results. I'll move over to the next slide, which gives just an insight of some of the positive feedback that I have received during these past few months. I'll give you a moment to read that. I have put the survey in the chat box, so if you have got capacity, please, if you can, complete that tonight. But this feedback is not just from the young people who took part in the HAF project, but also from regular sessions that I'm delivering. So there's a woman that had come to, she's been looking for quite a while for archery sessions, but wanted female-only sessions, which I started to deliver. And at the age of 60, she discovered that she can actually take part in archery, and it has now become accessible. So that's a huge achievement on its own for me, and I feel really rewarded with the feedback that I get. Another example is a positive outcome that I've had is we had some interest from a local school within Birmingham, inner city Birmingham. They've never had the opportunity to try archery, offered that opportunity. They did one term, the children had enjoyed it so much they wanted to do another term. Unfortunately, for winter, they had to, because it was outdoors, they had to stop that. But I've had an email last week to say that we want this now to continue for period throughout spring and into the summer, which is fantastic. You know, this is what we want to achieve. And through these HAF projects, we've established positive partnerships. Archery GB have now partnered up with Street Games, and we are developing the urban archery. Gail had mentioned that slightly earlier. So it's revamping the Arrows archery kit. And also through the partnership, Acker's Adventures is now an archery activity provider, which I'll go into more detail with you. So I have established two new clubs within the West Midlands. Crescent Archers now runs weekly indoor sessions over at Moseley Road, Bath, which is situated in Moseley. We have also formed a partnership with Acker's Adventures, which is situated in the inner city of Birmingham and is well known for its activities throughout the UK. They provide skiing, zip wire, climbing, and also just have a go at archery, but not a pathway for those who want to continue the sport. So now, working alongside Ackers, we've now established that club there. And again, that leads to Ackers Adventures now being an activity provider, which is fantastic. And this is all done through teamwork. And I hope that we can all agree that this is done mostly through the support from our volunteers, who do an amazing job. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank them for doing what they do, for supporting not just me, but other clubs and other people in their journey. So thank you. And it does mean a lot. In Birmingham alone, we have 135 instructors. So to increase participation and collaboration, I have emailed and reached out to each and individual one of them to see if they want to be involved in more participation and collaborating, should they want to do so. Moves us on to collaboration between clubs. Collaboration between clubs. If we can achieve that, can create a greater culture of inclusivity and support, where archers of all levels and backgrounds feel welcomed and supported in their pursuit of the sport. This helps create a positive and uplifting environment for all archers. And it doesn't have to stop there. It can also create more opportunities which can promote the sport. But it can also benefit the communities. Community cohesion can be a powerful force to promoting the greater good. A cohesive archery community can help to promote the sport, improve facilities, especially in inner cities where we find it's impossible to get the space, and it provides support and encouragement to all. An example of this is Andalus Archers. So Andalus Archers is an archery club that's been around since the 1980s. Riaz Mohammed, who's formed that archery club, has provided great support to Crescent Archers in initially setting it up, and even prior to that. And it's such a joy to be able to form a working partnership with each other. We now work alongside each other and provide support when it's needed. This has been through events where coaches are required, or even through administration. Riaz's positivity and dedication in the sport has inspired me to push myself and strive for excellence. So both clubs have now collaborated this weekend to hold a charity fundraiser for the earthquake victims in Syria and Turkey. Through this kind of collaboration, we're not only increasing participation in archery, but it helps foster a culture of generosity and giving which can benefit the community in many ways. Ultimately, by working together, I believe, towards a common goal, community cohesion can help create positive changes, which now takes us to the next slide, which is support. We all need support. And I've had much support and I'm very grateful for that. And one of the main people that have supported me from part of my journey and sort of very early stages is Peter Minshaw. And some of you may know that he is my mentor. An archery mentor for me is a valuable asset. Peter has offered his time to support me and other clubs, which helps create that stronger workforce and enables me to develop my skills, and also helps me deliver events such as Have a Goes and taster sessions, which Peter has helped me do. Peter and I, last Sunday, we delivered an archery session to a group of cadets and their leaders. Now, this group, they don't actually have archery within their activities, so this was something new to them. And the feedback that I got, which Peter, I've got to send out to you, the email that I received, was another positive outcome. They enjoyed it so much that they now want to include archery into their regular activities, which, again, through support and through, in collaboration, these are success stories. So I'm going to let Peter have a few words. Peter, if you may, and I'll set up.
Okay. Evening all. Yes, initially I met, in fact, Shazia and Jamila, Shazia is Jamila's sister, at Acres back in April 2022 when she did an instructor course. And at the end of the course, I was approached, do I mentor people? And in fact, the answer was yes. And it wasn't too far away from home. So for the first time ever, I'm mentoring people that are not within clubs that I am members of. Jamila has since done level 1. Shazia is also studying level 1, and she's actually assessing this coming Saturday. You've already heard that she set up Crescent Archers and become the legacy co-ordinator at AGB. And you've also heard that I regularly help her and mentor her with the duties. And the other Friday, I actually assembled a 6-arrow fletching jig for her from scratch and then taught her how to use it. So she's got no excuses now for fletchings falling off her arrows. And then she's now starting to take on the thought of teaching instructor courses, probably within 12 months' time. She's also on an assessing course, and she came over to Blackwell, where I was helping Tim Swain assess some of his course. And we were both absolutely stunned at her ability to observe what was going on. And she actually did 2 or 3 of the assessments as well. And that was with Tim. I wasn't on the particular range. I was a few yards away on another range. But yes, we were absolutely, both of us were absolutely amazed at what she can see. And from a coach's point of view, observation is one of the most important things. I'll also be mentoring her through development coach because she threatened me with that as well. But certainly my previous experience with Stratford Archers, which is an extremely diverse club, right back in 2013, I led a beginner's course. And many of you will know Jamie Harris. He is now starting to medal on the Paralympic squad. And it taught me a massive lesson, which I sort of knew anyway, but it underlined it, that you just do not know who's starting their journey when you run a beginner's course. And in fact, Jamie Harris is really pleased with Stratford Archers from what I hear from certain things he occasionally writes. So that we're quite proud that we started his journey. Also helped a blind archer. I actually built his stand and learned very much firsthand what the stand is all about, so that they can stand and they can aim and hit their 30-yard target, which we change faces on to simulate distance. He was really good too, because he helped me really learn how to interact with blind people, which has helped me doing my own course delivery and helping people when I deliver courses. We've also got Janet Corrin as the coaching organizer. She's also a level 2 coach. And we had a situation where a family arrived and Janet was actually giving a have a go to the one girl, and her sister was keen to have some experience, and she'd got serious sensory issues and challenges, and she couldn't wear a bracer or an arm guard because it was far too rough. So they put an elastic bandage on. We also have Kieran, who's had 3 to 4 years experience at a school for kids with special needs. And he managed to get her to shoot 1 arrow, and you wouldn't believe how ecstatic she was just getting 1 arrow after the target. She didn't do very much more, but she was so pleased and jumping up and down that she'd managed to do this, that it was fantastic. She's also taken a very nervous man on the line who apparently had a tick with his voice. And amazingly, as he settled down on the line, all his nerves disappeared, which was quite surprising and encouraging. And then the last experience at Stratford Archers, certainly that I had, was at the game fair, when we had a lady wanting to have a go and her arm ended about 1 inch below her elbow. Her bow hand was fine. Bow hand was just like yours and my hand. And she shot the bow with the crook of her elbow. Other than encouraging her to roll down her long sleeve shirt to protect the inner crook of her elbow, she chose to shoot on a 20-yard target, and it was incredible because she got goals. And lastly, at Redditch, the other club I'm a member of, also very inclusive, just from inquiries, we don't turn people away. There was a guy who arrived in a wheelchair who had no core strength, and I got involved helping him. We ended up using a Genesis bow. For those who might know what a Genesis bow is, it's like a very basic compound. He did join the club. And then Andy Rikonenko, who's an honorary member. Many of you will know Andy Rikonenko because he used to shoot on the international stage. He came along, and what he doesn't know about compounds really isn't worth knowing. So he came along and helped him into compound. So that was really it, and that's where we are. And it is a real pleasure helping Jamila at the same time. Back to you, Jamila.
So thank you, Peter, for your kind words and to speak about just how inclusive archery is, which moves us nicely onto Star Archery Week, where we welcome our doors and offer archery to everybody. It doesn't matter about ability or what background they're from. It just gives them an opportunity to try the sport. So Start Archery Week, as you may all know, is on the 6th to the 14th of May across the UK, and where clubs and archery activity providers open their doors to give everybody an opportunity to try the sport. I would like to discuss how we can increase more clubs and archery providers to take part in Start Archery Week. I will be hosting Start Archery Week myself in various locations throughout this period. At the moment, we've got 4 locations where I'll be holding One will be on the, I'll move on to the next slide. So this is what I have got at the moment. So I'll be hosting Start Archery Week on the 6th, on the 7th, on the 15th, and there is another date, but that is yet to be decided between myself and ACCAs. ACCAs previously have hosted Start Archery Week, but this year they want to collaborate with Crescent Archers. So hopefully we can offer more opportunities for participants in the sport. But I do believe that Start Archery Week is the ideal time for us to unite, and by working in partnership, we can create a stronger workforce. We will discuss more about collaboration a bit later on, but for those of you who are interested in Start Archery, please don't forget to register it on the CMS system to claim your free merchandise. I would like anyone to also speak about if they have used the system or if they haven't, and what their thoughts are, because digital innovation is the way forward, and we really want more clubs using the CMS. It does have many benefits, so it can actually take off that extra pressure that secretaries sometimes face. But Helen will talk a bit more about that in a while. But if you're not planning on hosting Start Archery Week this year, would like to know why, what is the reason behind that. So this is another topic we'll discuss a bit later on. So if anybody would like more information about the CMS, Helen is the best person to go to. But I will now pass over to Helen, who will talk a bit more about clubs and what we've discussed. Thanks, Helen.
Thanks, Jamila. That's great. I know most of you, and that is because I've got a link now with most Midlands clubs, which is brilliant. I don't know all of you. Looking forward to getting to know you better and your clubs better, because I really believe there's a great opportunity to draw together more across the West Midlands. And that doesn't just mean necessarily the immediate kind of Birmingham and West Midlands conurbation area that the Commonwealth Games focused on, although that's the kind of central hub. So I think we've got a slide coming up that sort of shows the distribution of the various clubs, as you can see there, around the Birmingham area, but it's not just Birmingham. And I know that there's people that are willing to travel in or to be involved from a distance as well. So you can probably identify your own club if you come from that kind of area. If you're just off the map, I apologise, but we still want your input very much so. And if you're not entirely familiar with where ACCAs is located, then you'll see that on the map there. ACCAs is now an archery activity provider, and there is one just off the map on the south side of Birmingham as well. And this is a new scheme whereby providers, people that are actually involved in delivery of archery, can have a link with Archery GB. They're promoting archery. They are qualified instructors or coaches that are delivering those sessions, but they're not clubs. So we very much want to make sure that the network is pulled together a lot more. And on the map there as well, you can see around the edges of Birmingham, we touch into Staffordshire, the very edge of Shropshire, Worcestershire, certainly, and then obviously Warwickshire is the majority of the map. And we very much want to pull people together in this area, regardless of which club you're from and perhaps which county association you might be a part of. If you've got an interest in drawing together to fulfill that role that Jamila's outlined to us earlier on tonight about reaching underrepresented groups for archery, then we very much want to engage you and continue to keep people involved. So we've got all of those clubs represented, as I mentioned. If we just take Warwickshire alone, there's over 950 members within just the Warwickshire county. We're probably knocking on 1,000 members. So, there's a great opportunity base, just Warwickshire alone. And I know, as I've already mentioned, we're not just looking at Warwickshire. Again, just within Warwickshire alone, there's nearly 50 coaches, licensed coaches. So we have a great opportunity here to make a really big impact. And through the legacy opportunities, the Birmingham 2022 opportunity and the funding, we really want to ask you to get on board, really. We have 135 instructors across the West Midlands area, very much part of the network as well. And we basically want to draw together the people that have got the common interest of trying to make archery more accessible. As Jamila mentioned, Start Archery Week is a great opportunity to be able to do that, because it is a national celebration, and with that kind of national spot in the position in the spotlight during that 1 week every year, anybody and everybody involved in delivering archery can join together to try and just increase awareness of the sport and get people having a really positive experience. So that's a great opportunity that we may well discuss later on. So that's the kind of picture across the area. I very much wanted to ask you, perhaps, what made you come to this webinar tonight? And we do have the chat box. You see a speech bubble icon at the top of the screen, probably, depending on what device you're on. But if you can find that chat box and want to kind of put your own reasons for coming along tonight, that might be a great way to sort of start us off. So Jamila, I think I hand back to you now. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Helen, for summing up tonight's webinar. Really, we do want to reach out, and we do want to increase collaboration and to increase participation. So it's, I think we'll move on to the group discussion and have an insight on how everybody feels about tonight's webinar. Like Helen has said, what has motivated you to come tonight? What are your outcomes? Is this something that we can form in the future, a networking group where we can all, meet, whether it's once or twice a year, to support each other, and how we can do that. So it's really, I'd like to sort of hear back from yourselves about tonight. So if anybody wants to say something, whether it's in the chat or whether it's in an open discussion,